Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to talk about Alloy of Law by Brandon Sanderson. So as usual, we're going to talk non-spoilery thoughts and opinions up front and then move over to the spoiler section where we can talk in more detail about what I liked and what I didn't like. So remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and let's begin. So, Alloy of Law is a continuation of the Mistborn series, except now we've jumped 300 years into the future and we follow completely different characters. So, it's in a way, it's a completely brand new series. It just continues the world and we still have the same magic systems. So, in this story, we have a classic Western. It's basically a spaghetti Western. We have the classic lawman who was the sheriff out in the roughs as they call it. It's basically the frontier area. He has to come back home due to a family tragedy and basically assume the head position of his noble house. So the whole story is almost a reverse fish out of water kind of thing in a way. It's like, he's been out in the roughs for 20 years, so that's kind of what he knows. And then he got to come back to aristocracy and deal with all their shenanigans. So it's kind of fun in that way. But I must confess, I don't really care for westerns, and this is a heavy western motif kind of story, and I just never have been able to get into westerns, so I didn't really like it from that perspective. But all the characters are really well written and really well realized, as usual from Brandon, and it's the same world that we know from Mistborn, so that's still good. And the evolution of the magic integration with their budding technology, because now they're starting to get skyscrapers and stuff, and like they have it's like the old west, so they have trains and things. They have the same equivalent technology that we had at that time. So it's pretty impressive the way the world was stagnant and Mistborn, and then like just blooms into this jump so many centuries ahead in only 300. But it's really cool. Like, so the continuation of the world building and the continued use of the magic system is really well done. It's definitely my favorite part of the story. I definitely recommend it if you're into westerns because it'll kind of scratch that itch while being definitely a high fantasy story. So it's a good marriage of both of those. If you're like me and you don't care for westerns, but you really like the Mistborn world and just want to know, what's going on and kind of want to continue the Cosmere story, then you kind of have to read it. It's not like pulling teeth or anything. It's not an unenjoyable experience, but I could have done without the Western stuff. I don't know. It feels weird because it feels like something I should totally like, but I just can't get into it no matter how hard I try. So this is going to be a quick one because the story is fairly short. So short story, short review. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the non-spoiler section here, but let me say I definitely recommend it if you're into westerns. It doesn't spend a lot of time out in the Wild West because it's kind of the reverse situation, but it definitely has that feel, and there's a lot of stuff that will scratch that itch. So if you like westerns, I definitely recommend it. If you don't like westerns but you love Brandon Sanderson, I still definitely recommend it. Let's go ahead and jump into spoilers so I can talk in more detail. So, spoilers for Alloy of Law by Brandon Sanderson. So, in the spoiler section now, let's just talk about the stuff that I didn't like up front. Apart from it being a Western, which I really don't like, all the Western stuff, all of that cliche Western tropes, they just bore me to tears and I just don't really care for it. The saving grace of the story is Wax and Wayne. Their relationship, the way they play off each other, just their snarkiness, the way Wayne is entirely, because Wayne feels like a toned down Lopin to me. And I like Lopin, but I like Wayne more. And I love his Master of Disguise kind of stuff he has going on. And this thing with hats and stuff. He's so fun. He's a fun character and I really like him. And I like Wax too. He's like a really interesting character, very different than Brandon's other characters, because I think this might be one of the I don't know, how old is Kelsier? I don't know. I think this is one of the oldest main characters Brandon has written. Like he's like 46 or something. And actually no, I guess that's not true because Dalinar is like in his 60s or stuff. So no, I guess never mind on that. But as far as like the main POV character that we're following, like he's got a different kind of maturity to him, and I kind of dig that a lot. But that's kind of like the downside, though. I really like Wax and Wayne, but I didn't like Marcy, or like I didn't even care for like his backstory stuff. I didn't like the guy he was chasing and stuff. I didn't. All of that stuff just fell so flat for me. I don't know if it's because the story is much shorter and more tight. So like Brandon didn't, weave a whole bunch of foreshadowing and like reveals and all this kind of stuff. It just kind of was like, this thing is going on. Could it be this? Yes, it's this. And it's just like, I don't know. It's got to be because it's smaller and he didn't take much more time to weave stuff in. So it just kind of took me out of it. But like the other characters in general, like they're honestly not even that memorable. I can only remember Marcy's name, and I think that's her name. I might honestly be wrong. I only really like Wax and Wayne. Their characters are the ones that seriously work for me. But also the continuation of the magic and the world, like, also kept me like glued to it, because the the melding of the Allomancy and Ferrochemy to create Twinborns, like, I think is one of the most awesome evolution of a magic system, especially two magic systems when they were separated, but it's, kind of not, Cosmere. The continuation of the magic system is really cool too. Like the idea of the Allomancy and Ferrochemy like bleeding together and stuff. The idea of being able to push against metals and being able to control your weight. So like he can crank up his weight and become a much stronger anchor while he's pushing against, some metal and stuff like that. And he can also push off a piece of metal and like crank his weight down and be very light and like get like a super burst or something, pretty much fly or do some Attack on Titan level, like ODM gear kind of stuff. Like, it's really, really cool. I love the evolution and the development of the magic and the way it all continues. And I love how the world just expands from the Mistborn stuff and how it all just kind of evolves based on the stuff that happened from there. So I really love all that stuff. Like, so I love everything around it. It's just like this Western glove that it's in, and some of these characters I just was so blah about, and it's so weird and kind of disappointing for a Brandon book to make me feel very blah about. But like, yeah, I'm just going to be honest about it. Like I said in the non-spoiler section, I do recommend it if you're a Cosmere nut but you don't like westerns. Like if you're like me, like, because it was definitely worth reading just to get the update on Scadrial. So, but if you like westerns, I think you'll be like a lot of other people and just enjoy it purely, just straight through both sides, as a story itself and as a Cosmere thing. But yeah, if you don't like westerns and you don't give a crap about the Cosmere, then you can probably just skip this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. So what about you guys? You got any like really commonly popular genres that you just don't like? Like how I just don't care for westerns. Like, you got anything like that? Let me know in the comments down below. And remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And I will talk to you all next time. Peace.